Hello and welcome to Blue Suede News, where we will be reviewing the good, the bad, and the utterly stupid of the last 7 days. Now, before I waste any more time, I will bring tonight's guests onto the screen. We have Maggy Whitehouse, Suzy Frost, and Ishi Khan.
Hey!
Good evening to you.
Yay. Evening.
I'm going to ask each of my guests to introduce themselves. So let's start off with Maggy.
Well, I'm a vicar and a comedian and an author. I've spent the last year developing a really bad potty mouth, so I daren't go back in the pulpit ever. I'm going to be in real trouble when church starts. And both my mother and my bishop think I should get a proper job.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to Ishi next.
Hello, I'm Ishi, and I'm a lover of bees. And that's all I've got to say today.
And sometimes I think, it's nice that I'm not the only one to lose my shit during lockdown.
I'd like to say that it's during lockdown, Roger, but this is how it's always been.
Okay, and let's ask Suzy to introduce herself.
Well, speaking of going mental, I've recently taught myself how to crochet, so this is my current project. But yeah, I'm a comedian from Sheffield, not professionally, just part-time.
So thank you very much. And let's see if we've got any comments from people watching. We've got, watching the show, Alex English. Hi, Alex.
Hi.
Nice of you to join us. We have George Coppen. Hi,
Hey.
George. Nice of you to join us. If you are watching the show, please say hello. I can see we've got more than 2 people watching, so this is an interactive show, so please comment as the show goes on, join in, and have fun. And we have a round towards the end of the show called The Good, the Bad, and the Utterly Stupid, and if there's any stories you particularly want us to discuss, please put it in the comments and we will discuss it during that section of the show. We've got Brian Slack watching the show. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Nice of you to join us. So talking about viewers, and greetings to all the viewers who've joined us. It's very nice of you. And I'd like to say a special hello to the viewers who have already supported this show using the Buy Me a Coffee link or have purchased merchandise. You know who you are. And if you enjoy this show, you can find the links in the comments if you would like to buy our guests a coffee. Coffees are £2 each, and any coffees purchased for the show will be distributed amongst the guests evenly. You can also use the Buy Me a Coffee link to become a member of the Blue Suede Show News Club, where you'll get a monthly newsletter and a special access to a Facebook page. And if you're not a member already and you've maybe we'll earn that during the show. So I really do hope you enjoy some of the stories we're going to be covering. So let's go to our first round.
What's the story? Morning Glory.
Now, I could, in this, I pick a story that I view as the Blue Suede News Story of the Week. Now, I could at this point have picked the Meghan and Harry interview, but I've not done that. Instead, I've chosen the story of the return to school. All across the country, school children and college students have been returning to schools and colleges for the first time since Christmas. I know parents have been cheering across the country because they can now have a cup of coffee in peace and quiet because they're no longer being harassed. So let's go to each of our guests and see if they've got any views on this. So let's go to Maggy first.
Well, it's a long time since I had any children of school age, so I've been sort of cackling a little this last year and sort of going, oh my God, thank God, thank God, thank God. But I've got a friend who's just messaged me about 10 minutes ago, she's saying, I'm spending the whole weekend in bed. She spent the week at school and she's at her father's. I've got a life. I've got a life. And her idea of a life is spending the whole weekend in bed, and I don't blame her.
Let's go to Suzy. Have you got any views on this, Suzy?
Well, as someone who's profoundly child-free and against spawning my own devil spawn, I feel so happy for the parents, because a lot of them during lockdown will have just realised that their kids are actually arseholes and the teachers need a fucking medal for dealing with them every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Ishi, have you got any views on the return to school?
I'm similar to Suzy in that I'm not a teacher, but I don't want children. I think they're fine as long as they belong to somebody else. But I also think, I'm glad for lockdown, because parents have actually realised what they've been creating and putting out into the world. And my friend, who has been really excited about her kids going back to school, had champagne for breakfast. So actually,
legend.
If she starts becoming alcoholic, I'm just going to blame this whole back to school thing, you know.
So
it's when the children have become alcoholic. We've got a problem.
So it's to be quite honest, I'm surprised some parents can actually find a way back to the school to drop the children off. I know I've been struggling with driving around.
I could never even remember the name of the school in the first place. So, you know, it was, I mean, what mother's got the energy to remember what school her children are at, eh? What?
Nah.
Come on, get real.
No time.
So, and children returning to school, of course, now have to wear face masks all the time. So, which to me is a bit cruel, because it's the only branch of society that have to wear them all the time.
To be fair, though, have you seen kids, like, if anyone's going to wipe their snotty nose on their sleeve, it's going to be them.
I know.
Also a culprit for open mouth sneezing in your face.
Yeah. Oh, they're really ill.
And this is why I do not want children.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Agree.
I think one of our viewers, Brian, shares a similar opinion, because he says, I think children are okay, but I couldn't eat a whole one.
Oh,
And I'm with George. I'm with George Coppen, because if you live near a school and they've gone back to school, my God, at 11 o'clock when they go out to break, oh, and the mothers. I live near a little village, and you cannot go near the village shop between 3:15 and 4:15, because it is up to the gunnels with kids buying sweets, and you just want to go in with one of those leaf blowers, you know, sort of blow them out in the street again, so you can buy your sweet potato and get on with your life.
Oh gosh, I do like kids. Like I say, as long as they're not my own, I do like them, because I like to play with them and stuff like that. But
I think they're definitely cuter than adult coats.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, if it wasn't for kids, I wouldn't have any clothes to wear, because at least that means that, you know, I could.
I think I've got ahead of your joke there.
I fit into kids' clothes, so I'm really grateful for.
That's not what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, I know what Susan was thinking, because my brain jumped to the same conclusion, that you tend to get kids manufacturing clothes abroad, which of course
God, no!
we all hope that doesn't happen. But I know Ishi's too nice to make such a crass comment as that.
I'm not.
But
That's exactly where my mind went.
But problem is, right, and Ishi, I'm sure you don't mind me saying this, you are shorter than the average person, aren't you?
I am. I'm exactly 5 foot -1. So that allows me to hang out in the kids sections for lots of clothing and stuff like that, which I love, because I love those kinds of things. I think adult clothes are just so boring, you know. So yeah, that's issues and shorts, says George. All right, George.
Take a bloody talk.
Yeah, because I'm quite tall next to George, actually. It's the first time I've been tall, next to George. Now I get...
What are these clothes of which you speak? What are these clothes? I've worn the same outfit for the last year now. What are these clothes?
Well, that's because you're a vicar.
Oh, where's my camera? I'm gone.
Oh, I know.
Stand on your chair, Ishi. Yay!
Now you can get leggings.
Wow.
Exactly. It's a good job I've worn leggings today. I was thinking twice, actually, but yeah, it's a good job I've worn the bottoms today, so I can show you.
I once did Good Morning Sunday via Zoom, yonks before it, wearing dog collar and no knickers. They never knew. I loved it.
You feel kind of daring, don't you? Because you know what you're doing. It's quite daring. Yeah, I've done that. I've done like not wearing underwear and driving. Like I borrowed a car off this guy I was going out with, and I just bombed down the motorway with no underwear on, and it felt so daring, and that was my thrill. Yay!
Well, but it's practical too. Years ago, I travelled around China with my dad. We were sort of explorers back in the early 1980s when they didn't even have lavatories basically in China. And I just had to wear a great long skirt and travel around because there was nowhere I could go to have a pee. So I just go, oh, what a pretty flower, and crouch down, and nobody ever knew.
That was my Glastonbury plan. That was literally my Glastonbury plan because there was no way I was going anywhere near them long drops.
Just make sure you don't pee accidentally in the welly.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, shall we move on to the next round?
Faking it.
In this, what I'll do, I'll present a story. And what you have to tell me is whether it's real news or fake news. Is it fact or is it fake? So, who shall I go to first? Oh, let's go to Maggie first. Okay, I seem to be picking on Maggie a bit.
You do. You've got. It's not an Oedipus complex. It's a Jesus Christ complex, isn't it? Yeah. We won't go any further with that one right now, will we? No.
Okay, let's see what I've got lined up for you, Maggie. Boy sent home from school for wearing a mask that looked like his teacher. Nigel Owens was sent home from Springvale School in Wolverhampton for wearing a mask that had a picture of his teacher printed on it. He argued that the mask did cover his mouth and his nose, and therefore it was in line with the regulations, but he was sent home for being disrespectful to his teacher and was sent home from school as a punishment.
Well, now this is a tricky one, Roger, because I used to live in Wolverhampton, and nobody in Wolverhampton is that articulate. So I'm not entirely sure whether this could be true, because the child appears to have come from somewhere like Finchley in London to have that kind of vocabulary. In Wolverhampton, every time anybody went there, you had to try and dig an escape tunnel because it was, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go true.
You're going to go true. Let's see whether you're right or not. I'm sorry, I made it up.
I was gonna say, like, when you say punishment for whom? For him or the parents? You know.
It's a great one, Roger.
So, okay, who shall we go to next? I think we'll go to Suzy next. Sorry, I'll try and put my teeth in. Helicopter flew from Salford to Preston for Sandwich. A helicopter pilot's 80-mile round trip, which was taken to pick up a beef sandwich from a farm shop, was a flagrant abuse of lockdown rules.
I think that's unfair. We've all had a beef sandwich craving, haven't we? And thought, oh, I'll just hop in my helicopter, won't we? That'd be right, Andy. Because like, who could be bothered to walk that far?
Yeah. He could have sent a drone.
Oh, that's true. That'd be genius.
That'd be much better, wouldn't it? Yeah.
No,
wouldn't break any rules.
It was actually flown from City Airport in Salford to to a farm shop in Ribble Valley.
You're not got a poker face with that. You've given too many details now, Roger. You've ruined it. Ruined it.
I think it's true.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I think it's true mainly because if I did have a helicopter and I had a craving, I would genuinely do the same. Not a single shit would be given.
You're saying true.
Yeah.
What?
You're right.
Yay! Well done,
Also,
that woman.
Also, you said Salford, and I'm like, oh yeah, wrong'uns.
Would have been false if it had been Wolverhampton.
There we go, yeah.
I would like to add here, I fell in love with in Wolverhampton, so I was very happy there, so I will stop slandering Wolverhampton.
So the next story, of course, will be for Ishi. Hovering ship photographed off Cornish coast by Walker. Images of what appear to be a hovering ship have been captured as a result of a rare optical illusion off the coast of England.
Ooh. As an optical illusion, when was this? Can I ask you questions?
It was within the last 7 days.
In the last 7 days? Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know if it even... It looks like a duck. A long duck, doesn't it? It doesn't look like it's real. I suppose that's the point. Well, I'm just thinking, like, if you forget about like the bit at the back, the long bit, the rest of it looks like a duck, and the rest of it, I mean, okay, it looks a bit rude otherwise, and you know. I guess George has already told me to behave, and I'm like, well, I just be rude. As an optical illusion. Okay, I don't think this happened. I don't think there's a hovering hovercraft. Even though it's called a hovercraft, I don't think it would hover that high up, really.
So you're saying fake?
I am. I'm saying fake. There you go.
Believe it or not, that is the actual photograph.
I think
it was taken by David Morris near Falmouth in Cornwall.
Wow.
Okay. BBC meteorologist, I'm really good with big words, David Brain said the superior mirage occurred because of special atmospheric conditions that bend light. The illusion is common in the Arctic, but can appear very rarely in the UK during winter.
Wow.
We don't have light in Cornwall in winter. We have rain.
Awesome.
We have horizontal rain and 50-mile-an-hour winds, like now.
Now, I've got to say, I deliberately, knowing where you live, Maggie, kept this story away from you in case you'd seen it.
No, I hadn't. It's great.
So,
that's awesome, though. It's awesome.
It is.
It's a brilliant picture, and you won't believe it. It looks like one of my Photoshop pictures.
It does. Really.
I also really appreciated that the apparent expert meteorologist had a second name, Brain, Mr. Brain.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes, good spot. He's a smarty pants, isn't he?
Yeah. George has put. Is that what a duck on Wish looks like? Is she?
I'm gonna check, George. After this is done, I'm gonna check, and then I'll let you know.
Now, I should say at this point, for people who don't realise what that comment means, George has his own show where guests are invited to find silly products on Wish. For some reason, Ishi always comes up with disgusting products on Wish.
Oh, I love Wish. I love Wish. I bought all my family sort of wigs and face marks, things that were knitted of Vikings and Roman generals on Wish for Christmas. You should. Oh God, I'd have to show you the picture. It's amazing.
Oh wow! Why don't those make their way to my wish list? I always get the like really weird ones, the things that are totally like. Does that really? Does anybody buy that? That thing goes up a penis. What? What? How? Why would somebody do that for pleasure? That's yes, it's quite shocking what I find.
So
it's basically internet history.
Oh no!
That I wouldn't want to go through Ishi's internet history, having watched George's show when she's on there.
Oh gosh, I bet.
Let's rapidly move on to the next round.
Prat of the week.
In this round, each of my guests have nominated in advance a Prat of the week. I will now reveal the Prats, and each of my guests get given 45 seconds to justify their Prat of the week. And once all three Prats have had their justifications, I will then adjudge as to who the Blue Suede News Prat of the week is. So we'll bring on our first Prat. This is a nomination from Ishi Khan for Matt Hancock. Ishi, your 45 seconds starts now.
Okay, look at this headline, right? This headline says COVID News Live, missing person with Brazilian variant found as Matt Hancock. I had no idea Matt Hancock was firstly Brazilian. Okay, that's the first reason. The second reason is because he's Matt Hancock, right? And also, in one way, I feel sorry for him because of his name. I mean, his parents gave him a name like Matt Hancock. Who needs to be reminded how to masturbate Hancock? You know, who needs that? I mean, I'm glad that they're not my parents because I might just be called glossy finger pussy. And I mean, that, you know, so yeah, Matt Hancock, let's get back to him. I think, but the biggest thing I think Matt Hancock is a prat for is because how dare he try to look like Alex Lean?
So,
perfect timing.
Yeah.
My
timing.
My husband's surname is Dickinson, and his brother is called Richard, so his name is actually Dick Dickinson. Makes Matt Hancock look really quite cool.
Is that why you married him, Maggie?
Well, my name's Whitehouse, which in the last 5 years has been even worse.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So I actually quite enjoyed that justification. I was interested to see what you would do with that one issue. So let's move on to our next nomination. It's Piers Morgan, as nominated by Suzy Frost.
Yes.
I mean, do I even have to explain myself?
Yeah, your 45 seconds starts now.
Yeah, like, I mean, you could nominate Piers Morgan for Prat of the Century. He's I had a tutor who used to refer to him on purpose but pretend it was on accident as Piers Moron. But like, he's already gone after my trans sisters and brothers on numerous occasions, which is unforgivable. But this week to be like, oh, like, go after Meghan Markle, was she really suicidal? Prick. No, you don't ask these questions. You don't know what people are going through. And then to have had a go at her for removing herself from a situation she felt uncomfortable in. And then what did he do on this morning? He removed himself from the situation where he felt uncomfortable. How fucking rude.
And your 45 seconds is up.
Very
now,
Yay.
with this nomination, it's actually reminded me, right? It's not quite a year ago, but it's nearly a year ago. I did a Piers Morgan joke. And I post jokes on Facebook, and this was my... So, seeing I did a Piers Morgan joke, and you picked Piers Morgan as your Prat of the Week, here's the joke which I wrote nearly 12 months ago. So...
I mean, just give me the medal now. I've won, clearly. Sorry, Maggie.
You haven't won already, and I don't award points either, because you don't know, points on this show mean sod all. So that's your nomination of Piers Morgan. I quite enjoyed that justification. Bit cheeky at the end there, which may swing it against you, but we'll see. So that leaves us with the final nomination of Prat of the Week. This is Azam Mangori, and do apologise if I've mispronounced that, but as nominated by Maggy Whitehouse.
Yes. Well, I did nominate Azam before the Sarah Everard aspect came out, so please don't think that I'm being deeply insensitive here. Azam is actually on trial for murder in Exeter at the moment, but that's not why he's my Prat of the Week, because that if he's guilty of that, he's an utter bastard, not a prat. However, the defence says that the girl died from a diabetic condition while in his flat, so that's not the issue. He's alleged to have killed her. The issue is that I happen to know his next door neighbour, who was the guy who reported him to the police because Azal had left his computer open on a web page called How to Dig a Grave by Hand, and had bought himself a trowel from B&Q or the equivalent. So he was actually thinking of digging a grave with a hand trowel. Now, I'm a vicar, and as a vicar, you have to do this kind of work during seminary to learn all about the job. It takes 8 hours for 2 people with pickaxes and all the equipment to dig a grave. You cannot do it with a trowel. He may be a bastard, but he's also an absolute prat.
Thank you very much.
Perfectly.
Well, the time was perfect because I forgot to start the timer, so I was guessing.
Oh, can I tell my Crown Court story?
Yes, you can, because we
I used to be a Crown
careful and use the word allegedly, don't we? So,
yes, I used to be a Crown Court reporter. I used to do freelance work for all the national newspapers at Crown Courts, and I used to cover murder trials and rape trials and that kind of thing. And there was a guy called Judge Blennerhassett. He was about 5,000 years old, and he sat like a little old wrinkled tortoise up in this high seat with his wig on and his clothes, had to be helped in. And we used to take bets every day on whether he died, because he would just like that, and he would just sit there and mutter occasionally. And there was a rape trial, and this guy was accused of rape, and the prosecuting counsel, the Honorary Timothy Raggett QC, I remember him very well, was trying to get him to admit that he'd had sex with the woman, but Raggett was very posh, and he was saying, "Did you have carnal relationships with the girl?" And the defender went, "What? What? Did you have intimate relations with her? What? Did you have sexual intercourse with her? What? And this went on for about 5 minutes, and then Judge Blennerhassett lifted his very old wizened tortoise-like head up and said, "What me learned friend is trying to ask is, did you fuck?" At which point the defender went, "Oh yeah, we did that, yeah." Brilliant. But you couldn't report it in those days. It was 40 years ago. Now it would be front page.
Yeah. Now knowing the today's world, it's probably been done by would be done via Zoom and would go viral.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the justification's done for Prat of the Week. So it's a difficult choice. I've got Matt Hancock, he's been nominated several times.
True.
I'm tempted, but I think the other two are better in this case. So I'm going to discount Matt Hancock. I do apologise, Ishi. But
That's
really good justification. Really enjoyed that. So it comes down to Piers Morgan and Azam Mangori. Right. Now, the one thing I'll say is, and I don't know what my next slide is I've got lined up, because I do have 3 slides prepared because I wait till the justifications before actually making up my mind. Right. Piers Morgan is a prat. Azam Mangori is a prat. Anyone would not buy a trowel to dig a grave.
You'd be
just
surprised,
won't
actually.
do it.
There's like a program on Amazon Prime called See No Evil, which is like crime that's been solved by CCTV. The number of criminals that get caught out by buying like bleach, latex gloves, like murder equipment from Walmart is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
This is proper
So-
scary stuff. Oh,
It's scary.
So let me think. I'm tempted to go for Azam, but unfortunately, and by doing this, I'm actually going to bar him from all future Prats of the Week
Yeah, fair.
because I've done this once before, right?
Mm.
I did this with Nigel Farage,
Yep.
right, when he was nominated for Prat of the Week. I'm going to do the same for Piers Morgan. He's not a Prat of the Week. He's a Rogers Blue Suede News Prat.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, he's a permanent Prat along with Nigel Farage.
When you
So
get
I
a perpetual prat, they just keep coming back like herpes. So you're just gonna nip it in the bud.
So because I've made him a Blue Suede News Prat, he will no longer. He'll be excluded from nominations in the future because he is a Prat. Okay, Azam, very very close second. Really tempted. I mean, I must say he must be the Blue Suede News Prat of the Week, but Piers Morgan is a Prat.
Double prat.
And I hope our viewers, think I've adjudicated that reasonably. By all means, put your own comments in if you disagree with me, and then I'll just ignore them. So, and that concludes
You'll
the
ignore them
Prat of the
like
Week
Piers.
contest.
Sorry, you'll ignore them, Roger, like Piers Morgan ignores common sense.
So, right. So, since we've done Prat of the Week, we'll move to the next round. This following round, by the way, is where viewers, I've just checked the comments and we haven't had any stories suggested, but if you do want our panelists to discuss any stories that have happened in the last 7 days, by all means, put them in the comments. I have pre-selected some stories, so shall we get on with the next round?
The good, the bad, and the utterly stupid.
Just before I start this round, I'd like to remind our viewers about the Buy Me a Coffee link. So if you would like to support the show and help our guests out, you can buy a coffee. They're £2 each. Add that link. You can also find the link in the comments if you want to look for it. Click on there, buy us a coffee. It'd be more than appreciated. And any coffees purchased will be distributed amongst the guests on this show. So thank you for that short
By
commercial
helicopter.
break.
Yeah,
By helicopter. Yeah, I insist.
Yeah.
Well, are you saying you want a beef sandwich delivered by helicopter, Maggie?
No, I want my coffee delivered by helicopter, please. Come on, let's.
who wouldn't want anything delivered by helicopter? Like that's a dick swing in the street, isn't it? Like, yeah.
Well, if I can
My
have
Asda
anything, I'll
shop.
have Orlando Bloom delivered by helicopter, then, please.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So,
You can have him when
Let's-
I've finished with him, Ishi.
shall we see? Shall we see what the first story I've got lined up?
Oh.
Ooh. I'll put this warning on the screen rather than a silly photo, because there is a story this week which I thought it'd be wrong for us not to cover. And it's more of a serious one. And it comes back to the sad news this week about the finding of a body in the Sarah Everard's case. I don't really want to talk about that case because someone's been charged, and I'd prefer to stay away from that case. However, there's been a lot of talk online and in the media about females feeling unsafe. And with this being the week that contained International Women's Day, and because I've selected a all-female guest panel, I thought it was an important subject that we should discuss, right?
Absolutely.
Because it upset me to think that women don't feel safe walking the streets, but I can understand why. But let's go to our guests first and ask their opinion. So I'm going to go to Suzy first.
So yeah, I probably, like the other ladies on the panel, I have not spoken to any of my friends who have said that they have not experienced feeling unsafe at night. And I did see an article, me and my boyfriend had a discussion about it earlier, and I did see an article where someone from the Green Party suggested a curfew for men, but it's not the solution. They tried to do this to women in the 80s when there was the Yorkshire Ripper out. You had to be in by a certain time. You can't do it. You have all this, not all men, but if you're not part of the solution, you need to be calling people out on their shit. You need to be vigilant about it, because if you're not part of that, then you're part of the problem, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's a very fair point. And I agree with you about the curfew. I put up one of the viewers' comments mentioning...
I missed that.
Baroness Jones. I'll pop it back up so you can see it. I don't like keeping it on the screen because it covers Ishi.
No, I don't agree with it.
Right. But
come back.
I agree with the fact that you don't agree with that, mainly because I'm a man. But also, something like that, making a comment like that, will get all the men to shout about it, which actually detracts away from the actual important issues on this matter. But let's go to Ishi next.
I think the other thing about making it a curfew for men is assuming that it's always men who are the attackers. And we can't assume that, really. So I think here is a situation where, there needs to be better mutual respect for each other, just for general people, really, and it starts with self-respect. And I don't think that is taught very well very early on for children at school or at home, because if that's the key thing that is taught, then you would start to solve stuff like vandalism and disrespect towards another human being or another living being. And to me, it's as simple as that, really.
Well said.
Yeah,
very true, very true. And Maggie, let's come to you.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm older than any of you, and this has been going on for so long. I was a journalist in the 1970s, and I remember once after I'd had my bra pulled off and my boobs groped by an international footballer and an international cricketer who shall remain nameless, because they're probably dead, and if they're not, they soon will be. And I told my news editor, and he said, "Think yourself lucky, dear, you're not that pretty." And, actually, it is a little better now than it used to be. That's how it was then. And one of the things that I did, because I was a reporter on the streets, I was also a war correspondent. I did a lot of work abroad. And one of the most sensible things I ever did was I went to see a man called Bob Spoor in Birmingham, who is an ex-para who teaches women self-defense boxing, Thai boxing. And Bob Spoor taught me how to kill a man in 2 moves, and I can still do it. And I can honestly tell you that if you know how to do that, nobody on the street is going to bother you, because you actually got that aura. Now, it's not the answer. Absolutely not. The answer is to treat each other with respect. But I'd like every woman to have lessons in how to defend themselves to that level, because it will give us the confidence not to have this fear which hangs over our head all the time.
That's very true. I mean, one thing in the comments from all 3 of our guests, one thing that stuck with me was the one where I believe it was Ishi said it's not just men. I can't remember if it was Ishi or Suzy, but it wasn't just men. And I agree with that because there was a big thing a few years ago of women being groped at rock concerts and things like that, which shouldn't happen, right? And there's lots of people out there saying, "Oh, it's not a problem." It is a problem. It does happen, and by saying it isn't a problem, is the wrong attitude to have. Yeah. The attitude to have is it shouldn't happen, and if someone needs defending, you should, call it out. You should
Absolutely.
stop, but the thing I'd say about concerts is, I mean, I go to an awful lot of concerts, but on 2 occasions, I've been groped, right? And that shouldn't happen.
No.
One was by a woman who actually grabbed my between my legs to move me out the way, right?
Whoa.
And one, I actually got assaulted by a gentleman on the front row who took a fancy to me.
Oh, what?
So you have a vague idea how it feels, Roger, and it's not fun, is it?
Yeah. It's not on, right? I mean, I've got to say, from my point of view, the attitude towards me by other people is, "Oh, I'll get over it," or "It's a laugh." It's not a laugh. It shouldn't happen.
No, it shouldn't happen to anybody, no matter what's between your legs. It just shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But I've not been traumatized from it because, I've just let it wash over me because it's something that happens which shouldn't have happened. The man who groped me, I actually glared at, and he suddenly realized he made a mistake because he thought I was going to punch him. Right? Because I have this like death glare, and I think he'll think twice before he tries this again. Right? The woman just went past me too fast. I didn't know what to do.
That would have been trickier for you, actually, Roger, because if you tried to tackle that, that would have been, it would have been the one.
But I have to say that wasn't on in the same way as it won't be on, and I would never even dream of doing this. And to be quite honest, the one thing that should be said is the majority of men wouldn't do this. The majority of men wouldn't try to grope a woman in the street or anything like that. The problem is there is a minority of men who would. And it doesn't make women feel unsafe.
To answer Alex's question, by the way, Alex has asked, do I get many confessionals from flashers? No, not that many, because if they're going to turn up in a confessional box with a woman and it's secret and quiet, they're probably going to flash.
God.
George is absolutely right, and I'm just sorry, I'm interrupting again, but I did a gig in Plymouth a couple of years back, and I'm in my 60s. I'm probably a damn sight safer than most other comedians because of my age, because I'm not going to be the first one you think for. But this lovely young man, 25, said, "I'm walking you back to your car. It's rowdy. It's a Saturday night. I'm walking you back to the car. I wouldn't let my mum walk through Plymouth." Like that. And
well done, that man.
Yeah, well done, that man. Well done, that man. And that's the answer. We all have to take care of each other and call other people out when they're off court.
Yes. And I think one of the other comments saying we should teach respect. It is, we seem to be lacking respect as a society.
Yes.
And it needs to be taught at a young age that no means no, and that you don't grope or anything like that unless you're invited to.
Yes.
Please.
Here's a written invitation. You may grope.
It means getting to know the person first and for them giving consent.
That's very formal, isn't it?
And if someone says no, directive. We need that judge's comment cut straight through it. No means no. So, but I mean, it's like anything else. It's going to take a long time, and will it ever be sorted? I hope it will be one day, but we just need to keep banging out the message. It's not acceptable.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Well, thank you for that. Like I say, it's a bit more serious than what we normally cover on this show, but I thought it was important we actually cover this story that's been in the press this week because to me it's an important one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
You can
let's
have a
get back
woke
to-
badge.
Let's get back to normal Blue Suede news service.
I want a woke badge.
There's my woke badge. Ta-da! Oh.
This is the story about a pilot being attacked by a cat during a flight and having to make an emergency landing.
Oh,
Let me
poor
read a bit
cat.
of the story to you.
Oh.
A passenger plane, and I've got to thank Suzy for suggesting this story. A passenger plane was reportedly, and if I'd seen this, this would have been in the faking it round. A passenger plane was reportedly forced to make an emergency landing in Sudan after a cat attacked the pilot shortly after takeoff. The plane bound for Doha, Qatar, was forced to return to the Sudanese capital city of Khartoum. The aggressive animal had somehow got into the cockpit prior to takeoff.
Oh dear.
You do realise, don't you? They actually have They have tigers in Khartoum. It might just not have been a cat.
I think he
Well,
even
obviously
noticed
it
if
was a
a
cat.
full-ass tiger in the cockpit. And was it John Travolta who got attacked, or was it?
John's fault. This is, I just use that picture because he does fly planes.
That would have made my day.
You know.
I want to know all the background. Why was the cat there? Why was the cat not in a cat box?
Well,
what sort of cat was it?
At the bottom of the article, there was like a load of other stories saying this isn't the first time that this happened, and then there was one that was one of the passengers once who was in the hold and had escaped, but this one had just stowed away apparently. And this further proves my point that all cats are assholes. I have 3. I can confirm.
Yeah.
I have 3 of them in my house. Can confirm every single one of them. Arsehole. Absolute arsehole. I love them to death, but they are arseholes.
My best aeroplane stories. I was in South America once with my brother because I travelled a lot, and we were the clocks changed and we didn't realise. So we arrived at the airport for one of those little hopper flights to another city a bit late, and the aircraft was just about to it was just taxiing down the runway. It was only a small one, a Cessna, and my brother, who looks a bit like John Cleese at the best of times and does silly walks, went racing over to this aircraft and hit it with his briefcase until it stopped. And he goes, "Stop! Stop! Stop! Stop!"
I mean, that is like a Faulty Towers sketch or a Monty Python sketch, isn't it?
You
And
probably
it
get
did
arrested
stop.
nowadays for that.
I know, it did
What
stop.
shot?
They let us on it. We were in the 3rd row back, and as the pilot took off, all the seats fell over because they weren't screwed into the ground. So we got everybody on top of us as we lifted up.
Alex says, wouldn't he let the cat fly the plane?
So mean.
That could cause a catastrophe.
Perfect, Roger.
So let's see what
We
other
claw
stories
this
I've got
back
lined
now.
up.
Brilliant.
Now we're getting tight on time, so we'll make this next story quick because it's not one I particularly want to cover, but it has been a big news story this week. So, and I love this picture.
Oh,
Yeah. That
Someone's
is vile.
photoshopped that brilliantly.
I
Oh,
know
that's
it is
real.
brilliant, but
Good.
it's not. What it's implying is horrible. It's implying that Harry's whipped, and I don't like that. But
No.
yes, it's funny.
No, I
Is
don't.
that what it's implying? That's horrible.
yeah, it is.
I was just excited that he might audition for RuPaul's Drag Race because I would watch the
Well,
shit
there
out
is
of
that. Yeah.
To me, I view this as it was suggesting that Meghan wore the trousers in the relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
anyway, this is the Meghan and Harry story. I couldn't resist showing this picture because I'd seen it crop up a couple of
It
times
is
online.
amazing.
Yeah, but should family feuds be aired in public?
Well, I think on this occasion, I'm really pleased that they did, because their lives are quite public, and what they said in the interview was, we've been led to believe the opposite of what's actually been going on, and I think the points they made are very, very important. So they're not like private people, they're public personalities, so in this case they were right to do that, I think.
Okay.
Well, yes, I understand that, but I fact checked it, because was an investigative journalist, and it wasn't all true, and that worries me, because what happens with me and with all of us is we've got a genuine grievance, but because we've got one genuine grievance, we lump everything else on top of it and complain about a whole wide range of things. And I would have preferred if they had focused on one genuine grievance, brought it out, but not just on the whole shebang thing. I didn't. Well, anyway, that's just me.
If there's important topics, though, like everybody is nosy. Like if I hear fighting out on the street, I am at that window peeking through those blinds. If you can lay on top of that, no matter if it's not true, like some important issues which would need to be raised in the wider world, people are going to watch it, and people are going to get the message across. So
people are going to watch it, and they're going to believe the stuff that isn't true along with the stuff that is true, and then they're going to, the ones who know that some of it isn't true are going to denigrate what stuff that is true, which is exactly what happened. And I think it was an absolute car crash myself, and I think it could have been managed an awful lot better, but that's because I'm a professional broadcaster.
Well,
in the know.
Brian's made an interesting
but not
comment.
as bad as Prince Andrew, and the point needs to be made that we are making all this fuss about these two, and we just let Prince Andrew get away with the allegations against him, and that, ladies and gentlemen, just shows the inequality that there is, because let's get at the beautiful woman, but let's now not take any more notice of the alleged accused paedophile. Rant over.
George says, "Get him on Jeremy Kyle." Well, to be quite honest, you can almost see him going on this show. Like the only what they're alleging shouldn't happen, but to be quite honest, in any family, you can get comments that could be racist from elderly people who don't necessarily. They say things that you don't agree with and shouldn't be said.
Yeah, again, I'm old. My mother's 92. Yeah. My mother is casually racist because it's how she was raised. She was, having children when Enoch Powell was around and we were in the Midlands, and she doesn't know that she's doing it. And I call her every single time. I know I have to do that. But our daughter, our son is, our granddaughter is mixed race. Our son is redheaded with freckles and very white skin, and his wife is Greek Cypriot with very dark skin. And when Natasha was pregnant, in the family, we did debate. This is going to be fascinating. Is the baby going to be redheaded like Tim, or is it going to be black-haired like Natasha? Will it be red hair with dark skin, or will it be very blonde with Natasha's hair? This is absolutely fascinating. How is this going to work out? And I don't think in our family that discussion was racist. But I'm not saying that the discussion that Megan reported was not racist. But Roger, your point is so valid because it's so borderline, and with older people, so much of it is it's just wired in.
The only other issue I've got is that they've probably been paid a lot of money to appear in that interview.
No.
And they have to say something.
I don't think they were paid anything, actually.
I don't think they'd be paid on opera, no.
No, they weren't.
Paid on opera.
Right.
They weren't.
Well,
but it will enhance their brand.
I think that the points that both Maggie and Roger are making about elderly people being, it's been wired in is valid. However,
I'm not saying it's right.
No,
it's not right.
No, it's not right. But valid point that they do, think a certain way. However, in this occasion, these are very high-profile people who've had international training. So I would suggest that their training has been to be able to deal with all nationalities across the world, including the Commonwealth, for instance. And for that kind of behavior to be allowed in what is like our monarchy, that's where I would say, you know, that's not very acceptable. You've had the best of training. Yeah, it's pretty shitty, quite frankly. You know, because we're not talking my grandma or your grandma here. These are people who've had the best training in the world in diplomacy and how to behave with other, you know, human beings. So that's not acceptable.
Very good point.
Yeah.
To absolutely agree with you, Ishi, and no racism is acceptable at all. Anytime. Absolutely understand that. But I just want to know why the accusation was dropped, but nobody was named and nobody's been able to follow it up. And I'm coming back to this investigative reporter. I want names. I want to know who said it, what they said, why they said it, and what their response to this is.
I think that's the biggest mistake they've made, is by not naming. And I don't think they'll get respect because they haven't named.
I think because that wasn't the main point of their interview. The main point was why they actually left the UK, and to put the record straight there.
Yeah.
So those, and they were very open, you know, at the beginning. They didn't know what questions were going to be asked, so they were willing to talk about whatever was being asked, and it kind of veered that way. So they mentioned that, but that wasn't the main point, and they brought it back to what the point was. The reason we left the UK is not because we hate the UK. The reason we left the UK is because the tabloids and how they were treated and got no help and support. And that was the main focus of the interview. So that's why they didn't say it, in my opinion.
They removed themselves from the situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. It was safety. It was safety at stake. Yeah. And how, you know, how it's different for one member of the royal family and different for another member of the royal family, and that's not fair.
Alex English says they weren't paid, so I stand corrected on that point. So
they weren't.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the next round, because we are now extremely tight on time. So the next round is this one.
I predict a riot!
So I'm going to come to each of you for a prediction of something that's going to happen in the next 12 months. And if we can make this a quick round, that'll be great. So let's go to Ishi first.
Okay, I predict that in the next 12 months, Suzy is actually going to change her statement about cats and say, actually, she completely has gone 180 degrees on that and has fallen totally in love with her cats, and she no longer sees them as the B word.
Okay,
I get that on good authority from somebody who has been my guide and been teaching me what to say in this program. She's been sitting here.
Over to Maggie.
Oh, I think Harry and Meghan will split up.
Oh no.
Quite honestly,
well, all right. I think the Queen and Richard and David Attenborough will die, and then we'll be very, very sad.
Oh, I think they're both on my list already. So, but we'll see.
If we have the Queen and David Attenborough dying in the same week, this country will fall apart.
So,
that is sad.
And over to Suzy.
I'm going to overthrow Ishi's prediction and say that I absolutely will not change my mind that my cats are arseholes. Because they are arseholes.
What's your prediction?
That is my prediction.
No, because that's your view at the moment, so.
I have people who who I think might be added to the Deadpool list, but I don't want to add them. One, because I don't know if they're already on it, and two, because I really like them.
Right, well, name them if you want. I'll tell you whether they're on there already.
Sir Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen.
Neither of them are on there. So which one do you want? Because you can only have one.
Well, this is the thing, because I think they will die in quick succession of each other because they are like best friends, and I will literally have to take a week off work. I will have to.
I'll go with your first suggestion.
If he dies, I'm going to feel so guilty.
Yes, you should.
To be quite honest, I've
Circulate.
been quite worried about our list already because there's a couple of people on there who've been wobbling.
Oh,
So that's the end of I Predict a Riot. Let's go to our final round.
Put a plug in it.
Was that
This is
George?
where, yes, that was George. This is where our guests can plug whatever they want. So let's go to Ishi first. She's plugging a pink plug.
yes,
Oh,
I've got
dear.
the idea. Da, 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 da. Oh,
Anything else?
on Sunday, I'm on Awkward Question Times. That's 8:30. So just look up Alex Leam on YouTube and Facebook, and it's live. And then next week, Thursday, I'm doing a gig, but mostly just follow me on @Ishi2Funny on Insta, Twitter, and Facebook, and I usually post what I'm up to on there. And because some stories have been really sad, I'm just going to make this known.
A nice smiley face.
Thank you, Ishi. Let's go to Suzy next.
So I'm on Facebook, Suzy Froster's Comedy. I'm occasionally funny on Twitter and Instagram, which is @MadTeapotLady. It's also my birthday this month. Hooray! So it's my birthday on the 22nd, and on my birthday week, I am on George Copland's Fun Night on the 27th, and also I'm on Awkward Question Time on the Sunday. It is a double whammy for me on my birthday week.
Right. Very good.
Perfect.
And let's go to Maggie.
I'd like you, as soon as lockdown is over, to go to your local independent bookshop and buy one of my books, please. Here are 3 of my novels.
Ooh.
3 of my
Fantastic.
novels. This is my funny one. It's called Tales of the Blue Panda, and it's about a woman who spends every night flying off into the universe in a Fiat Panda, driven by her dead brother to redeem souls. And it's also very funny.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Sounds interesting. It's available on
That's
Amazon.
No.
Fantastic. Okay, and before we go, I'll just plug the Blue Suede News merchandise shop. This, of course, is listed in the comments at the beginning of the comments, and here's the link for it. You can get face masks, bags, stickers, mugs,
Very nicely modelled.
and socks, ladies' t-shirts,
Socks.
I actually really want those socks.
so a hoodie, and men's t-shirts, as modelled by me.
Hey!
Huzzah.
So that's the Blue Suede News merch shop. I would like to thank all my guests. It's been a lovely time's flown tonight. It's been a lovely show. It's been great having you on. Let's just see if we've got any comments from our viewers before. George says he loved the show. So funny and so powerful. Enjoy your coffees. Oh,
Yeah.
George must have bought us a coffee.
George!
Thank you, George. You're so sweet.
George, you're a beautiful human.
Thank
So,
you, George.
Alice English says, cheers for an excellent entertaining
Have you paid
night.
for the helicopter, George? Have you paid for the helicopter?
Thank you,
We're not
Alex.
having a coffee without the helicopter. We
He's
need
playing
a
it.
helicopter.
So I'll let you know on that one, Maggie. So Brian says, most excellent, rock and roll. Cheers for watching, Brian. It's been absolute pleasure. So
Here's a rock.
Alex, the Blue Panda book
Me!
is by
It's by
Maggy
me.
Whitehouse.
It's by me.
Maggy Whitehouse. So there
That's so
you go.
impressive.
Me. I'm plugging it. Me. I write books. Yes. 19 of them. No, 20.
Bloody hell.
So like I say, I'd like to thank you all being on the show. It's been a lovely show to be on. It's been a pleasure having all 3 of you on, and I hope to see you all again soon.
Yes,
And thank you to all of you who's been watching. If you enjoyed the show and you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and hit like. If you're watching on Facebook, please find my comedy channel and hit like and follow, and then you can be notified of future shows. Thank you very much, and good night.